I'm going on an adventure!
Welcome back to the Licensed Game Hole. Today in the hole, we've got LEGO The Hobbit, developed by Traveller's Tales and published by Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment. This is based on Peter Jackson's Hobbit movies, which we have pretty mixed feelings about. We do like the first movie, which, while lagging in spots, mostly captures the fun and whimsy of the book. Meanwhile, the second and third movies are poorly paced, badly plotted, and feel like they're trying to wring every drop out of a source that simply never should have been 3 movies. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is a clear labor of love. The Hobbit is more of a labor of money for WB. This game released on April 8, 2014, lining up with the DVD release of the second movie, Desolation of Smaug. We played the PC version, which we got for free. Despite being a LEGO game fan, we were going to pass this one up, but there was a giveaway for it and LEGO Lord of the Rings in late 2018, as both games were removed from digital storefronts at the start of 2019, only to be returned in April 2020. A little searching has shown that Warner Brothers gave no particular reason why these 2 games were removed or why they were reinstated, so we can only assume it was some form of rights shenanigans. LEGO The Hobbit is a lot like every other LEGO game, but let's recap for any first-time Bricksters out there. The LEGO crossover games are best described as action games. You do some jumping, you do some fighting, you do some very simple puzzle solving. Each level gives you a selection of characters you switch between, with all of them having different abilities. For instance, Bilbo can go fishing or use the ring to turn invisible, or as we like to call it, enter the ring dimension, while Gandalf can shoot glowing blue blocks with magic and light up dark areas. The game is drop-in, drop-out co-op, and we chose to play it that way with Jay. This is the perfect type of game to have a partner in, as you can't game over, with death being a slap on the wrist that throws any studs you've collected, the game's currency, around. Both players can have fun regardless of skill level. Each LEGO game has its own unique differences though, so let's go over what Hobbit has. First, making its return from Lord of the Rings is the backpack system. Each character has several tools in their backpack. This actually gives the characters some nice versatility. Ranged characters will automatically switch to swords or axes if you're fighting in close combat. Once you enter the post-game, you get even more ridiculous tools to your collection, like the yummy-looking hot dog shield. New to Hobbit is the looting system. Various loot drops from enemies and objects, which you need in order to build LEGO sets to help you progress. We have our complaints with the system, mostly thanks to one moment on the overworld where we didn't have enough loot and it took us a while to figure out where to get it and how to progress, and you end up playing the building minigame a bit too much on average. However, we can't help but love the addition because, hey, you're playing as a band of dwarves. Dwarves love looting and building shit. In fact, it's so dwarfy that's weird when you do it on a level without any dwarves. Stop looting and building, Bilbo. You're no dwarf. The other new system here is Buddy Up, where 2 dwarves can team up together to take down some bigger obstacles. Sadly, this system is purely a progression thing. You're very rarely ever going to do it unless the game makes you. We wish they had done more with the combat possibilities of this system, or even a way to buddy up just to help your friend over some platforming they're having issues with. The game's biggest problem, unfortunately, is the character selection. In most of the LEGO games, it's easy to figure out who you need and easy to remember the abilities they have. If you're playing LEGO Marvel and you've got Captain America and Spider-Man, you already generally know what they can do because you're even vaguely familiar with these characters. Meanwhile, in Hobbit, you've got Thorin, Oin, Gloin, Fili, Kili, Dori, and Bifur. Which one of them do you think can grapple? Unless you're a Hobbit master fan who instantly recalls that Dori has a flail and that's kind of like a grapple, your answer was probably, wait, who are these guys again? There are a lot of properties out there with casts full of memorable characters who are easily identifiable at a glance. The Hobbit is not one of them. This isn't against the work itself. We love the original book. But The Hobbit is mostly a story about Bilbo, Thorin, Gandalf, and a bunch of other dwarves in the background. Turning all these background dwarves into important playable characters is a problem because even if you are pretty familiar with the source, having 6 similar looking dudes running around causes a lot of confusion during gameplay. Too much time in the game is spent looking at which party members you have available and going, wait, which one has the shovel? Do we have the guy with the bow? Oh, that's the slingshot man. By the end, any remembrance we had of individual dwarves is just what ability they have so we can quickly switch to them. Part of the fun of LEGO games is getting to play as dumb background characters. Who doesn't remember their first time playing as Gonk Droid? But you don't want the dumb background character to be who you're actually playing as for most of the game. And when you get to the post-game, you find that a good portion of the character unlocks are reskins. This is common, but it feels bad here to start digging into the characters and find 3 versions of the same dwarf. It's unfortunate, but the Hobbit just doesn't fit well with the main LEGO playstyle. You can really feel this whenever some more fun characters show up to unlock in post-game and they're not even characters who are in the Hobbit. Yeah, of course we got excited when we saw Tom Bombadil in the roster, but it feels like a shrug because there just wasn't anybody else from the movies to pick. The LEGO gameplay is broken up with a few mini-games, the most common being the building stuff minigame. Again, you just play it too much, but it's also too long. If it had been choosing 3 pieces, that would have been plenty, but you choose a total of 9 and it always feels like just a bit too much. It's also not a minigame built for co-op, as the 2 players can't select one piece at the same time and instead will push the other person off of it. By the end, it was easier for Jay to just stay in place while we picked the pieces. There are also a few simple rhythm games like the putting away the dishes minigame, which is not only too simple, even for a LEGO game, but it's way too long as you go between 10 dwarves, and again, it's not even simultaneous, so one player is just waiting for their turn. Likewise, there's a love of making you do a ton of QuickTime mashing with bosses, which is annoying, especially when replaying the levels. And yet again, one player is left mashing a button while the other is left running around with nothing to do. These minigames just end up slowing down the general feel of the game, and they don't feel well placed. The levels are broken up with an open world that stretches from Bilbo's house to Erebor, and once you beat the game, there's quests and collectibles aplenty to find. As per usual, the LEGO postgame lets you switch characters freely, as you uncover secrets in the open world and the levels you've played. This is some of the real fun of LEGO to us. Just throw on something in the background and mindlessly explore the open world. And it's clear the devs put some real love into it. While the side quests aren't anything to write home about, mostly being fetch quests, they're all voice acted and amusingly written. There's some real laugh out loud moments you'll miss if you don't spend a little time in the open world. So it's a real goddamn shame that this part of LEGO Hobbit is near unplayable, thanks to another famous LEGO game feature, the bugs. When we were younger, we enjoyed the jank. Now we can see it as a problem with the constant crunch to make these games that Traveler's Tales was under. Making a dev push out several games a year is not a great way to get a game that works perfectly. Playing story mode, most of the bugs were just annoying, there's just a few of them. There are still big bugs, like a softlock on the 3rd level, but story mode is just a glimpse of the problem. Playing the post-game, it's clear there's a full infestation. Characters suddenly appearing only because you've marked them on the map, a waypoint system that only helps half the time. Free-play characters don't automatically change their equipment like they should. Quest objectives don't appear. We can't think of another LEGO game where the bugs were so bad we actually had to throw down the controller and just declare ourselves done. We were tempted to poke around more, but at some point it's clear that spending time doing stuff could give you glorious rewards, or it could make you feel like you've wasted several minutes because something decided to just stop working, and no thank you. The game's story very closely follows the story of the first 2 Hobbit movies. Very closely. To the point where it leaves in scenes that don't really need to be there. You remember how there was a prologue where Frodo was going to visit Bilbo? That's in the game. The second movie had a small scene at the start of Gandalf and Thorin meeting before the events of the first movie, so that's there. and it's placed directly after the end of the first movie with no credits or any buffer, so it feels weird going from present to several months ago to present again for no reason. The lack of the third movie feels like they needed to plumb every small moment from these 3-hour movies for ideas to fill the levels. Normally, LEGO games take a series and split the levels pretty evenly, giving you 5 or 6 levels per movie. Lord of the Rings felt quite well paced because you're mostly just hitting the major beats. LEGO The Hobbit has 16 levels with 8 per movie, and despite the lengths of these movies, not all of that necessarily makes for good gameplay. If there's anything that they can make a playable moment, it's here. Gandalf and Radagast going on their little side quest where they track down the Necromancer takes 2 whole levels. Because of this, the game also carries over a lot of the pacing problems that the second movie had, including all the crap in Lake Town that, frankly, nobody cares about. It sure feels like the movies, but in the worst possible way. And yes, this only covers the first 2 movies. There has long been a rumor that DLC for the third movie was in production, so we decided to take a look into that. In a January 2014 report from London Toy Fair, several months before the game came out, LEGO fan site Brick Fanatics reported that there would be DLC for the third movie when it came out. This appears to be the only time when it was ever claimed that there would be DLC for the game, as nothing else was heard of it until March 2015, when Warner Bros. Sent a statement to GameSpot saying that there would be no Battle of the Five Armies DLC. GameSpot makes sure to highlight the wording here. It doesn't say we have cancelled the DLC, but simply there won't be any. DLC for Hobbit did release in September 2014, in the form of 2 character packs and an item pack, but that's clearly not on the same scale as several whole new levels, and certainly wasn't something we were going to pay for. And when new levels for LEGO games are released as DLC, it tends to be shortly after the game's release and quite small in scale, as with the LEGO Batman 3 DLC that we showed off during the LP, where each level is notably smaller than the size of a level in the main game and without actual animated cutscenes. So do we have any evidence of what the DLC would have looked like, or even an indication that it was started on? Not a whit. A look at cutting room floor shows no indication that it was ever started, with the most interesting piece of evidence here being this spreadsheet showing who was assigned to work on each level. All the levels and level sections of the game are listed here, with nothing indicating that anybody was ever working on the third movie. And finally, there's the release schedule of LEGO games. They were working on 2 games a year at this point, and where the fuck would even the Traveler's Tales B team have found the time to make half a game's worth of content? After our investigation and our personal familiarity with LEGO games, our conclusion is that the DLC never existed. Warner Bros. Was more than happy to release a game that only contains 2/3 of a trilogy, knowing it would never be finished because the team was going to crank out more LEGO games that would make more money. Whether the Toy Fair claim was a mistake or a lie, we don't know. The GameSpot statement remains the most damning to us. Not cancelled, just not happening. And this is all deeply disappointing. Never have we played a LEGO game before where there's just clearly material missing. If this game had waited a year and released with the 16 levels more evenly spread across 3 movies, the pacing would feel better, there would be more of a focus on the actual action scenes, and most importantly, you would actually get the whole story. As it is, it's as bad as watching Desolation of Smaug in theaters back in 2013. Worse, even, when you watch Smaug fly off, knowing you're never going to actually get to fight him in LEGO form. The game just smashes to credits. No to be continued, no sign they were ever going to continue it. You just get The Hobbit. There. No back again. No other adaptational problem in the game can really match the lack of 5 armies, but let's talk about them regardless. First off, there's your fast travel system, which is... oh god, the Eagles. Hey, why can't they just use the Eagles to get to Mount Doom? Apparently they're fine with us using them to hop over to Bree for a drink at the Pony. There's also the problem of the barrel level. Both us and Jay were so excited to get to the barrels going down the river. Jay even said he saw that scene and was like, that's gotta be for the video game. And then you get there and, whoa. This isn't raging rapids, this is a lazy river. One of those times where something is set up so perfectly for the video game and the game just can't do it justice. But there are a few spots where the game succeeds. The voice acting for the story is all ripped straight from the movie, and even features some original narration by Christopher Lee. Getting to remember how well some scenes were done, like Riddles in the Dark, made us smile. And LEGO always brings its token silliness to the story. This isn't the funniest LEGO game, but there's a few good moments. Our biggest laughs came from the jokes about the romance between Keely and Toriel. This does highlight the fact that the LEGO games are very much made for a preteen male audience, with its ew romance dumb perspective. However, that romance subplot did suck. Did anybody like that? Seeing it played for laughs here works well because it ends up making fun of the movie for doing it at all. The other place the game really excels are when the massive scale of the environments are highlighted. This story is already about a bunch of small people going on a big adventure, but making them all LEGO minifigures actually adds a little extra something to the scale, such as when you're climbing over the stone giants or when masses of goblins chase after you in Goblin Town. These levels stand out as the best in the game, building on what the crew of the movies have created and turning it into enjoyable gameplay. We wish we could recommend this. We did have fun playing the story mode with Jay, but everything about this screams that it was rushed out, from the many bugs to the fact that it's just clearly incomplete. Hardcore Tolkien fans might get a kick out of going through the set pieces while playing as Barliman Butterbur or Rosie Cotton, but for us, it's all just too rough, and feels like a definite low for the LEGO series. Traveler's Tales did the best they could here, but Warner Brothers did their worst. We give LEGO The Hobbit a 2 for adaptation and a 3 for fun. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed your time in the hole today. Remember, a like means a lot to us, and links to our Discord and Patreon are in the description. We'll see you next time in the hole for Bratz Babies. We'll see you all then.